Chris Mannix, kind enough to join us early on the West Coast after last night's performance here. Have you been to sleep, Chris?
Briefly, I just removed the Papa John's pizza box from my bed, so I'm feeling okay right now. A little tired, but I'm okay.
How sustainable is this for the Boston Celtics?
Very sustainable. I picked the Celtics to win this series in 6, and my biggest concern coming in was not if there would be a talent gap between the teams, but how overwhelmed the Celtics would be by the moment. Golden State, 123 games of finals experience. The Celtics, 0. That matters. You go back to 2012 and look at the Oklahoma City Thunder team that played Miami in the finals. You could make the argument that even with LeBron, Wade, and Bosh, that Thunder team was at least as talented or more talented.
Mm-hmm.
They just were overwhelmed in part by the moment. Beyond like the first couple of minutes of game 1, the Celtics weren't overwhelmed by the moment. They were very much present, and they survived, a finals record first quarter from Steph Curry to only be down by 4.
Yeah.
They had a lead at halftime. They had what has become their traditional third quarter pooping of the bed, and then came back and rallied and, outscored, the Golden State 40-13 before Steve Kerr threw in the towel in the fourth quarter. I just think they're the better team, Dan, in this series. And if they're not going to get shook by playing in the finals, they're going to show it.
Yeah, I think, and I agree with you, after the first quarter and Steph puts up 21, and then you realize, all right, we withstood a knockout blow, and then you're leading at halftime, and I went, this bodes well for Boston. Then they fell behind, and then it's like Golden State's up by 11, and I go, all right, maybe Golden State learned its lesson, and they'll close this out. And then all of a sudden, here they come. But Al Horford, can you see, I guess there's a couple ways to look at this. You go, if you're a Boston fan, we won on the road, and Jason Tatum didn't play well. We could steal another one here. Or does Golden State go, we just didn't shoot that well, and they're not going to shoot that well, and it was really one bad quarter here?
I think, look, you can look at it both ways. I'm sure Golden State's taking the latter attitude, and Boston certainly is taking the former. I mean, I don't think you can expect, Derek White to shoot that well in game 2. Al Horford to go 4 for 4 in the fourth quarter with a couple of threes. I mean, everything was working for the Celtics shooting-wise in the fourth quarter. I mean, the shots that Marcus Smart wasn't making in game 7 against Miami, he was making in game 1 against Golden State. All that being said, Tatum offensively was abysmal. Like, this wasn't just a bad fourth quarter. He was bad all game. 3 for 17 was awful for Jason Tatum. To his credit, he had 13 assists, and so he stuck with it and didn't force as many shots. But if you're the Celtics, your head of the snake plays that bad offensively, you've got to have a lot of confidence going into game 2, because like, as much as Golden State can be optimistic about what they can do, the Celtics aren't going to get rushed like that by Steph Curry again in the first quarter. They're not going to allow Golden State to shoot 48% in the first quarter. Their defense held the Warriors to 42% in the second half. That's more likely going to happen in game 2. The Celtics defense is that good. So I think if you're Boston, you're going to take the biggest punch Golden State's got, but you've got to believe you can come away with 2 games in this series.
See, I didn't buy into they don't have any experience, but then I saw Jason Tatum look like he didn't have any experience.
Yeah.
You got a rookie head coach. 2 other rookie head coaches have beaten Golden State in the NBA Finals. So the players have to have experience, but a coach doesn't have to have experience. I think Udoka did a wonderful job, certainly in the second quarter or second half in the fourth quarter, whereas Steve Kerr, it felt like he got outcoached.
Yeah, look, the facts are Ime Udoka has bested Mike Budenholzer and Eric Spoelstra already in these playoffs. And those have been 7-game series where coaching matters. He has pushed the right buttons in 2 series already, so it's no surprise to see him come up with the game plan that helps the Celtics win game 1. But to me, Ime Udoka's best performance wasn't necessarily in this game. It's what he's done with this team all season. I mean, Dan, I'm in Boston. I'm at most of these Celtics games. I can't underscore how abysmal it was the first 2 months of the season when they were just awful, blowing leads and sniping at each other and looking like they might be lottery bound at the end of December. Ime Udoka instilled in this team a mental toughness that they didn't have in years past. So when they go down 3-2 against Milwaukee in the second round, they don't panic. When they lose game 6 badly at home to Miami, they don't panic. And just like in previous games where they've blown third quarter leads or had awful third quarters, they don't panic. Jason Tatum said it best after the game. He's like, at the start of the fourth quarter, Ime said to us, we've been here before. Mm-hmm. And they have. So I think his coaching was excellent in game 1, but this was just a continuation of what I thought was one of the best coaching performances of this entire season.
Yeah, I thought he did a wonderful job, and it showed last night. Doesn't seem like the moment's too big for him. What's the poll question we have today, Paulie, that we're going to go with?
Who would an MVP of the finals do more for, Steph Curry or Al Horford?
I mean, the narrative around Steph Curry is that he needs it, right? That it would elevate him into a different stratosphere, whether it's he goes from top 15 to top 10, whatever you want to say. I probably Steph, because I think just a championship is good for Al Horford. Like, I mean, Al, who has been the bridesmaid, how many times now? 4 times, going to conference finals, Atlanta, Boston. Now he finally gets here. I mean, as I'm watching that game last night, Dan, it's like, you just can't forget that this guy was acquired for Kemba Walker. Like he was available to everybody in the league, and the Celtics got him effectively for a guy Oklahoma City just bought out and a mid-first round pick. I mean, that to me is remarkable. And Derek White, could have been had by many teams in the league, acquired for effectively a mid-first round pick. I mean, the buttons that Brad Stevens has pushed this year with this team have been remarkable. Where would this team be without Al Horford and Derek White, 2 guys that were not on the team at the end of last year?
We're talking to Chris Mannix, Sports Illustrated, NBA senior writer. What do you think the first order of business for Darvin Ham is with the Lakers?
Ask Rob Pelinka how the Russell Westbrook talks are going. I mean, doesn't it really just come down to that? Darvin Ham is either preparing for Mission Impossible in a basketball sense, which is trying to find a way to make it work with Russell Westbrook, or going into the season with a more balanced roster. I mean, frankly, Darvin Ham doesn't really know what team he's going to be coaching come early October. He knows LeBron will be there. He knows AD will be there. But this was a team, Dan, that had how many minimum contract guys last year? They'll have a whole swath of new players coming in this year. And we don't know what's going to happen with Westbrook. So I think it's who's going to be on this roster and what kind of players fit how I'm going to play. Now, if Darvin Ham is being told unequivocally that Russell Westbrook will be part of this team, to me, his first order of business is sitting down with Russell Westbrook and saying, Russ, you can extend your career by 5 years if you become a 6th man. Look at some of the guys that have done it, the Jamal Crawfords, the players of that ilk that have been longtime starters, transitioned to 6th men, and had productive careers. Russell Westbrook, Dan, if he doesn't become a 6th man or become more of a role player, his career ends after this season. Simple as that. Nobody's going to sign him to be a starter in this league. But if he's willing to make that transition, if he's willing to make that turn, he could have a 5-6 year career because he could still play well against second unit types of guys. So if I'm Darvin Ham, who, as you've heard already from many people, connects well with players, well-liked guy throughout this league, I'm sitting down with Russell Westbrook and I'm telling him that's the best way to extend my career.
Good stuff, Chris. Thanks for getting up, and we'll talk to you soon.
You got it, Dan.
That's Chris Mannix, Sports Illustrated NBA senior writer, joining us from San Francisco.